Today, we're going to talk about something that often gets lost in the conversation about a physical diagnosis like ALS. We're going to look at the unseen weight, that really profound emotional burden of guilt that so many people living with the disease experience. It's a deeply human, really complex part of this journey.
You hear this all the time, or something really close to it from people with ALS. And, it's so much more than just an apology. It's really a window into this huge, overwhelming feeling of guilt, this sense that their own illness has become an unfair burden on the people they love the most.
So let's start by framing this whole idea of guilt a little differently. This isn't about someone doing something wrong, not at all. Think of it as a genuine, though often unspoken, symptom of the disease itself, one that affects the mind and spirit just as deeply as ALS affects the body.
Right, so when we think about ALS, our minds usually go straight to the physical side of things. The loss of muscle control, the mobility challenges. But what's created alongside all that is this incredibly profound psychological landscape. And for patients, trying to navigate these powerful emotions, especially guilt, can be just as hard, if not harder, than dealing with the physical symptoms.
Okay, so this is the really crucial question. Where does this guilt actually come from? Because it's not because anyone did anything wrong. It really grows out of the dramatic and totally unwelcome changes that the disease forces on a person's life and their entire family.
When you look into it, a few common sources for this feeling pop up again and again. For our purposes, we're going to focus in on three of the really big ones. This idea of being a burden, the loss of family roles, and, of course, the major stress of financial concerns.
This first one is probably the most common driver of guilt. Imagine you've spent your entire life being independent, taking care of others, and then all of a sudden, you need help with the most basic, everyday tasks. Even when your family is giving that care with so much love, it's so easy to internalize the story that you become a hardship. And that is an incredibly painful thing to feel.
And think about how much of our identity is wrapped up in the roles we play, right? A parent, a partner, a provider. When ALS makes it physically impossible to show up in those roles in the same way, a person can feel like they're failing their family, letting them down, even when everyone understands that it's the disease, not them.
And then you have the huge financial pressure. There's the loss of income from not being able to work, and on top of that, the skyrocketing costs of medical care, making your home accessible. It all creates this enormous strain. It's no wonder patients often feel this deep guilt over the financial stress their illness is putting on their family.
Now, this feeling of guilt, it isn't just some abstract emotion floating around. It has very real, tangible consequences. If you leave it unaddressed, it creates this ripple effect that can do some serious damage to a patient's well-being and their relationships.
So, what does happen when this feeling is just left to sit there and fester? Well, it doesn't just stay put. It can actually grow and morph into much more serious problems.
You can almost see it as this downward spiral. It starts with that persistent guilt, which can lead straight into depression and feeling worthless. And from there, often it causes people to withdraw socially because they're trying to lessen the burden on others by just isolating themselves. And the real sad irony here is that this can lead them to push away the very care they desperately need, which of course just creates more stress for everybody involved.
Okay, so that's the problem, and it's a heavy one. But here's the good news. There are really powerful ways to fight back. It's all about finding a new perspective for both the person with ALS and their family to reframe this whole situation and find some real emotional peace.
This right here shows just how powerful a simple mental shift can be. On the one side, you have those guilt-driven thoughts. I'm a burden. I'm taking their freedom. But look at the other side, the love-driven view. Suddenly, care isn't a burden. It's how family expresses love. Accepting help isn't taking, it's giving your loved ones a chance to show you how much you mean to them. And maybe the biggest one, my value isn't what I do, it's who I am. This is a game-changing way to see things.
So shifting your perspective is huge, but it takes open communication. But let's be real. How do you even begin to have these incredibly tough conversations without accidentally making things worse?
It really comes down to this very delicate balancing act. You have to start by validating their feelings. You have to show them that you get it, that their feelings make sense. But at the same time, you have to gently but firmly challenge the false belief that they're a burden. It's about separating the feeling, which is real, from the fact, which is not.
This is such a perfect example of what that sounds like in practice. It starts with, I understand why you feel that way. See, pure validation. But then it follows with that crucial turn.
but you are not a burden to us. It directly and lovingly corrects that misconception. It reaffirms their value. It reaffirms that love.
Another really important strategy here is to actively work to preserve the patient's identity and dignity. This means keeping them involved in things. Their body might be failing them, but their mind, their life experience, their perspective, that's all still there. Including them in family decisions, valuing what they have to say, it constantly reinforces that their worth is so much more than just physical.
And all of this leads us to one final and I think incredibly beautiful idea for transforming that guilt into a sense of purpose. And that's by focusing on the legacy that they can still build.
So instead of dwelling on everything they can no longer do, they can shift their focus to what they can still give. Writing letters to their kids or grandkids for the future, recording their life stories, or just sharing their wisdom. These kinds of actions create a legacy that lasts forever. It flips the whole dynamic from one of loss to one of profound, continuing contribution. So when you boil it all down, the true antidote to this kind of guilt is compassion. It's that deep, gut-level understanding for everybody involved that a person's value is not, and has never been, measured by what they can do physically. It's inherent. It's found in their presence, in their history, and in the love they share with others.
And really, that's the one thought we want to leave you with today. In the face of a disease as devastating as ALS, through all the loss and all the change, this is the one fundamental truth that everyone has to hold on to. Their life, their presence, right now, it continues to matter, deeply and irreplaceably.